Honey's journey from abandonment to redemption. It was a freezing night, with heavy rain mixing with snow, covering the streets with a layer of biting moisture. It was in this scenario that I received an urgent call, a call for help for a helpless puppy that had fallen into a deep concrete ditch and was unable to get out. The little one, without the strength to escape, was trapped in a dark corner, shivering with cold, fear, and exhaustion. The urgency of the situation was evident. If we took too long, the rainwater could flood the ditch, and the puppy would have no chance of survival. Every minute was crucial to avoid an imminent tragedy, a rescue against time. When we arrived at the scene, we found the puppy completely terrified. His wide eyes reflected panic and despair, and his body, soaked, shivered with each gust of cold wind. He moved hesitantly toward the bottom of the ditch, trying to escape our approach, without understanding that we were there to save him. In a fearful reflex, he growled and tried to bite our hands, believing he needed to defend himself. Abandonment and suffering had taught him that humans were not worthy of his trust. With patience and gentleness, we managed to calm him down enough to remove him from the ditch. A quick inspection of the surroundings revealed an even sadder detail. He was completely alone. There was no sign of his mother or any other dog nearby. His frail body, his frightened expression, and his absolute isolation indicated that he had been abandoned to his fate. The first step to a new life. After carefully wrapping him in a dry blanket to warm him up, we immediately headed to Gimbal Animal Hospital. In the car, he remained huddled together, his eyes still reflecting fear, but little by little, his breathing stabilized. The warmth of the blanket and the safe environment began to take effect. As I watched him, a thought took hold of me. This little one needs a name, something that represents his sweetness and the new chance he was being given. That's how I decided to call him Honey, because despite his suffering, he demonstrated a purity and delicacy that reminded me of honey. Evaluation and treatment. When we arrived at the veterinary hospital, Honey underwent a thorough evaluation. His general condition was extremely weak, but fortunately, there were no fractures or serious illnesses. The diagnosis indicated only dehydration, mild malnutrition, and severe exhaustion caused by the intense cold and stress. After receiving serum and being fed, he began to show the first signs of recovery. His insecurity was still present, but now mixed with a timid curiosity about his surroundings. The next morning, Honey was already showing a slight improvement. His eyes, previously cloudy with fear, began to take on a different shine. He was beginning to understand that he was safe. The first night in a home, after being discharged from the vet, I took Honey home. I prepared a cozy space with a soft bed and warm blankets. When I put him there, he hesitated for a moment, as if he didn't believe that such comfort was really for him. But, exhausted, he soon gave in to his tiredness and slept deeply for the first time in a long time. In the following days, Honey showed an impressive recovery. His behavior began to change, going from a scared puppy to a curious little one who, little by little, learned to trust. Honey's evolution. Day 20. Honey was already much more adapted. He started to play, discovered the pleasure of running around the yard, and began to show small signs of joy. One of the most memorable moments was when I threw a ball for him. After a few minutes of playing, he simply lay down on the floor and fell asleep right there, exhausted but happy. Day 30. His body was stronger, his fur began to grow healthier, and his behavior reflected renewed confidence. He now explored his surroundings with greater ease and was no longer as frightened by unexpected noises. Day 40. Although he still showed a slight fear of unfamiliar people, Honey was already wagging his tail when he heard my voice and seeking affection more often. His transformation was happening gradually but visibly. Day 65. At this point, Honey was a completely different puppy. He played, ran, and interacted with other dogs calmly. His physical and emotional recovery was almost complete. The most awaited moment, a forever home. Day 90 brought the best news of all. Honey has found a forever home. He was adopted by a loving family and moved to his new home in New York. Shortly thereafter, I received news about his adjustment. He quickly got used to his new home and was already part of the family's routine. Now, Honey was surrounded by affection, playing freely in the yard and sleeping warmly every night. A full and happy life. Honey, who once lay on the brink of death in a cold, dark ditch, now enjoyed a life filled with love and security. Her story not only symbolized her own resilience, but also served as a powerful reminder that every animal deserves a second chance. Today, Honey lives in Colorado, where she runs through the fields, receives unrestricted affection, and can finally enjoy life as a dog should. Her tail wags constantly, reflecting the genuine joy of someone who has overcome abandonment and found a forever home. Looking back on her journey, there is no doubt, Honey didn't just survive, she was reborn.